Hi there, thanks so much for coming to my channel and being here today. I want to make this video to share my first time experience microdosing with psilocybin, aka magic mushrooms, and how it's actually helped me in many ways, but also was definitely something not for the uninitiated. So, as I disclosed in the beginning of this video, if you are sensitive to content around trauma, mental health issues, for those who are curious about magic mushrooms, I would say make sure to do your research, and I advise you to consult with your primary care physician or your psychiatrist or other mental health professional to discuss this, and also for you to get a baseline in terms of your biological health of where you are. I'm going to break up this video into about 6 parts. I'll give you the background and context of why I'm doing it, how much did I take. I'll talk about some of the adverse effects and also include some raw video of what I recorded real time as I was going through the trip, and discuss some of the short-term benefits as well as the long-term benefits, lessons learned, doing a mini retrospective of what I would do differently if I could go back in time, what I would do in the future. And finally, I wanted to address really quickly about this recent recall around mushroom edibles. Now, a little bit about my background in terms of my experience with drugs in general. I am very straight-laced, square, very vanilla in my personality. I'm very lame in that way. I've never smoked cigarettes, never smoked weed, never had weed edibles, nothing. No LSD, no hard drugs, nothing illicit, none of the class 1 substances. The reason is I always espoused a philosophy where I wanted to experience my life reality without any kind of buffer, no kind of chemical interference, especially one that completely jolts your mind or it totally skews your mental faculties. Of course, I drink coffee almost every day, but I know that caffeine doesn't necessarily have the hallucinogenic effects of a lot of these other drugs, right? So that's the key difference, is that there are some limitations within caffeine in terms of the degree to which it alters your mind through chemical means. The only reason I was really intrigued about psilocybin is because I was looking for other avenues, more natural avenues to try to treat this new condition, I guess you could say. I've never been a depressive type, but in the recent, about 2.5, 3 years, I started to experience these periods of depression that were very dark and very deeply low, dark, gloomy place. I have my hypothesis on why that's happening to me. Before, I was so optimistic, positive, always forward-thinking and ambitious, and it did a 180 in the past 3 years. Maybe it's a confluence of the fact that my son passed away. I am getting older, so there could be an underlying hormonal imbalance where estrogen and progesterone are all doing wonky things. I went to an endocrinologist a couple months ago who said my blood work is normal in terms of hormones, and she doesn't think I'm perimenopausal, because I thought maybe some of the changes I'm seeing in myself is due to perimenopausal symptoms. She suggested SSRIs, but I don't want to take any kind of pharmaceutical antidepressant drugs. I've seen how messed up people get. I've seen colleagues have to take a lot of personal medical leaves because of SSRI, changes in medication or dosage. So there's so much body of evidence suggesting that SSRIs are very damaging to you. So psilocybin is something I came across. I started listening to a lot of podcasts and big think TED Talks from neuroscientists researching psilocybins. Of course, the Andrew Huberman podcast as well. And also started reading a lot of the research coming out of Johns Hopkins University. They seem to be like at the frontier doing the biggest body of research around psilocybin, its medicinal benefits. Their articles are available on PubMed and NIH. And so I've been looking at the research they're doing for mental health applications, but as well as to somatic diseases. So I thought psilocybin might be a good remedy to try. I decided to do a microdose, and seemed like 500 milligrams was conservative. Margin of error about 100 milligrams, and it was too much for me for the first time. And that's what I mean by it's not for the uninitiated, because I had some serious adverse effects. So during the trip, the adverse effects I felt, it wasn't until about my 3rd hour of my trip. Let me first show you like what happened before my trip. So I've got about half a gram in here, and I put it in lemon juice, freshly squeezed lemon juice. It's been now 15 minutes, like soaking in here. I'm suddenly excited and nervous at the same time. Here goes nothing. Let's just do it. Oh, lemon juice is sour. So now that I have ingested, I have some jazzy, slow music in the background. I'm gonna lie down and just repose and relax. Of course, I just drank that tincture, so I'm not tired or feeling anything yet. What a Sunday. This is what I do, guys, when I'm alone. Like, I do some crazy shit. Some of the things I really want to address, I had buried and abandoned the person who I've always wanted to be, mostly from external influences, primarily like my mom and dad being very psychologically abusive, and I believed it all, you know. I don't know, my mom never really liked me, to be totally frank, and that's the part why I have abandonment issues, is that I know that she never held me when I was a baby that closely. Growing up when I was 2, 3, 4 years old, I remember her rejecting my embraces or my attempts to be close to her. So I think that in turn has had an effect in my ability to, or inability to, bond with people and form meaningful relationships. I bond with animals and nature. I don't connect with people easily. The fact that I'm a lone wolf is really a driving factor for a lot of my life decisions and where I am today. I've always been a sort of a reclusive person and totally self-sufficient, independent. And to the point, I remember my mom even saying when I was younger, growing up, like, I never asked for help because, well, I've been rejected so many times by my parents, either beat, verbally abused, etc., if I needed something. So, you know, I never asked for help. Here I am talking way too much. I should lie down. I'm going to start thinking about this, try to unpack it all. Maybe this will help me travel and provide me the clarity, the strength, connections, and compartmentalization, organization to help me be a better person, be the better version of myself I was meant to be, and we'll see. I don't know what I've done, but I did take less, it seems like 0.6 grams of, less than a gram of magic mushrooms I bought online. I had intense hallucinogenic effects. I am an hour. Let's see. So I have these momentary pauses. I do feel like a complete. What did I do to myself? I feel like I'm coming to like my normal senses, but also it's such a disassociation. I don't like this feeling, so I'm a little bit scared. I've had to remind myself. I'm actually thinking, what should I do if I am experiencing some stress? Like, should I go to the ER? And I'm trying to look up if there's an antidote. So, but I'm recording this in case I made a mistake. Don't do this to myself again. And I accept. I'm afraid now, but I know this is gonna clear. This is gonna clear. I can get help. And life is beautiful. And it's worth living. I understand. My pain. It's like I can make the decision of whether to go with it or not, you know? Like, I decide no. I will not go with the painful path. I will go to the light of shining bright, renewed, marry my conscious life with everything here in concrete reality. I really hope this fades and that I can get back to normal, because I am trying to get help, like look stuff up. I am having some trippy experiences. So I want to make sure that I'm documenting this and don't do this without help of a medical professional. I did take a very low dosage, hopefully. Of course, you don't know anything about toxicity, so it's like, as I mentioned, okay, that was my original thing. I did take it at 220 something, and so had some intense episodes. I hope that by, it is almost 6, I'm hoping by like 9 o'clock-ish, I'm gonna come out of it. I do kind of feel like there was at first a dissociation between like my mind and my body. I don't like that. I like being in my body. So maybe I should just take a nap and come out of it. And it feels like a drunken state that I've never been in before. I never want to do this again. I love being alive too much. Alright, so I am now approximately almost 7 o'clock on this trip, and I did have a few moments of where I am panicking, and I still kind of am. I'm trying to find out if I should get medical attention. Oh goodness, was this plugged in right? It should be. My blood pressure is reading out as I can show you. At the same time, I feel like my breathing is a little bit depressed, so I am trying to contact like the crisis hotlines, the suicide hotlines. I'm doing everything I can to stay mentally sane and engaged. I don't know if there's anything medically that we can do to get this out of my system faster. Yeah, because I just feel like it might be wearing off now. I feel oddly enough like 40% better, but I feel like I have to consciously be on top of like breathe, walk, be alive to be able to engage my systems. But as soon as I lose myself in a thought, it's like I could easily forget to breathe. Like even as I'm talking now, I have to remind myself to breathe. I don't want to do this again. I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't even have like past cardiovascular history at all. No real depression, I guess. I don't know. And I took even less than half a gram. Of course, my kitchen scale, it stops detecting after 0.5. So I don't know exactly how little, but it was 0.00, 0.0 when I ingested it, and then I took off more when it was 0.5 on purpose, just so I don't go too far with it. But I am feeling symptoms of like, not labor breathing, but like slower breathing. My heart rate is up though, maybe because I'm nervous. It really is all about your mental state. I'm trying to talk and keep myself active, engaging with my cats. I'm not nauseous. But as we approach 7 and 8, that will be about hours 5 and 6 of my mushroom trip. I should be coming out of it. But again, like I said, I have to like be so intentional in my conscious state to be here. Like, I feel like I could easily slip backwards. So I cried a lot. I was able to reconcile a lot. It really did help in that regard. But in terms of now, like bringing my physiological and systemic state back to balance, that's what I'm waiting on. I have my earpods in because I was contacting hotlines, but they're no help. It's all automated. You can't talk to a real person right away, so I could see how stifling it is for people who are really in crisis. So what I really just want help is to understand what is the definition or what is the delineation between what is a mushroom trip and what is actually like a medical emergency, because what's concerning to me right now is like I could just stare off in the distance and get lost in that thought to the point that I actually stop. I barely breathe. And I have to remind myself to like inhale and exhale. So I don't know if that's normal. I need somebody to validate that. So in order to keep myself alive, I am being ambulatory, I'm engaging with my cats, my external environment, and also like trying to prevent myself from getting back into that area of my mind where I feel like I could easily dissociate. I don't like having all this altered states of consciousness be unwoven. So I want them to come back together. Let's all go into our respective boxes and live a happy life. That's all I want. Folks, do not try this at home without the guidance of a professional. Oh my god. I am still kind of on a trip right now, and I am waiting for it to pass. I can't wait to get out to the other side. I'm not gonna lie, I did a lot of crying. That was very therapeutic. This is going to be a little bit of a rambling of my current experience right now with, I think it's the Golden Teacher. I ordered it online and I used my kitchen scale. I mean, I took off more weight when it weighed 0.5 grams, so I took off more, eating less than half a gram, but I think it was too much for my first time trying microdosing. I am coming out of it gradually, but it is a very conscious, deliberate effort to be here. I've been hugging my cat. They've been looking at me so worried. I do feel I'm very swollen, by the way. I cried so much. I was able to ask myself very deep, profound questions. I probably made wailing, crying sounds like about Peter, but also my childhood. I got answers that I needed to pack that away, and some sad realizations too. By the way, I'm having these moments where like I will daze off because I'm still under the influence of it. I'm officially entering hour 6. I did it at 2:20 and now it's almost 8. Soon entering the 6th hour. I wanted to out of my system. I was panicking at 5, so 3 hours into the trip, because I found my breathing to be too depressed. Although my blood pressure was elevated, my heart rate was through the roof, and I did see some psychedelic, super interesting, beautiful, fractal geometric colors, and I saw a lot of beautiful images, so which is great. I remember saying that, I was like, I'm seeing lots of beautiful images, but not too many scary or weird things at all. But to be honest, what scares me more is the physiological symptoms, the systemic. So definitely don't do this on your own. But if you do decide to do that, because it's becoming legal in many US states, I would recommend starting very low. Like get a chemistry scale where you can measure like down to the 100th of a gram, maybe even 1,000th of a gram, because you want to be very precise in your microdose. And also talk to your primary care physician or an endocrinologist or somebody who has more specialized knowledge about this in advance. So definitely not for the faint of heart. Don't do this on your own accord as I did. Panicking. I looked up substance abuse hotlines. I'm like, I've never even experimented with any hard drugs, not even weed. I don't smoke. I drink very rarely. Last time I actually drank was on my trip to Vancouver, British Columbia in January. I just joined a Discord server for the place where I purchased my mushrooms, asking for validation and reassurance, and they are providing me that. Otherwise, I did have a scare for it ebbs and flow. I thought I was supposed to have rewiring so that I can talk, but okay, hold on. It ebbs and flows. So essentially, I get hit with a wave of like, this is gonna pass, I can figure this out, just be active. And then what scared me was a total dissociation from my body. I don't know why I'm laughing. It makes me laugh. I don't want to be dissociated from my body. I think I came out of it. I love myself. I love life. One of the deep learnings I came out of this was about reconciling. Oh, I gotta thank God for cats saving my life. I love them. They were looking at me so worried, like, what's wrong with mommy? I told them I did something stupid. I'll never do it again. But my crying was so hard. That's why I'm bloated like this. And that was like solid, like 2 hours of going from chuckling to crying, but mostly about Peter. The answer I got was, Peter is everywhere. Yes, let's just talk to him. He is everywhere. And initially, before I got into the real trip, I think it was my consciousness saying, like, I asked, will Peter come back to me? Will he, in some form? It was my consciousness said no, but deeper into the trip, it's like a voice from deep inside, he's coming back to you. He's finding the way to get back to you, and you are finding the way to get to him. So don't worry. I think that's, I'm gonna get emotional. Don't worry. You're fine. You're okay. It's what I heard over and over again. I was hoping for specific instructions. You're not gonna get that. But just don't worry, you're okay. And some of the disheartening things too, like, it doesn't really matter whether you're alive or dead, it's all the same. I mean, that's kind of a knowing I have, but I wish there was more to help me, push me on the side of life, you know? But what does help is the fact that my cats are here, and touching them and associating my consciousness, my reality with them really helps to feel good and love life, seek light. At least I feel like I don't need SSRIs. That's a great thing, and I hope the benefits continue to unfold over the next few days. But even now, like, if I lose my train of thought and I just kind of daze off, I'm so afraid that I'm going to stop breathing. Because the breathing does slow down a lot. My heart rate went up and my blood pressure went up when I was like panicking about this physiological symptom of like feeling like breathing was a little bit too depressed. And I don't know if I'm going to die. I almost had that feeling. But something in my mind kept pressing forward, like snapped me out of it. I was like, nope, just keep walking. I actually walked, like I was ambulatory for like an hour and a half. Walked outside. Something told me go get fresh air, look at the clouds, look at the sunshine, look at the trees, and feel your place in this physical reality. And I did, and that kept my breathing. Breathing was natural, that was easy. But the moment I would just daze off, like I can do right now, or I close my eyes. The reason why I have to fight to stay conscious is I'm afraid I'm going to stop breathing if I close my eyes. I've been drinking a lot of water, so I've had about 2.5 liters so far. That's not a problem. Talking, I am so verbose. Oh my god, I think even when I was tripping with I had my the night eye cover on, and then I was talking so much and I had so many tissues. I didn't like the dissociation. What snapped me out was just like needing more tissues, and then seeing how my body was just like moving without me like actually controlling it. I was like, oh, this is weird. I don't like it. Where I felt like I was allowing my subconsciousness to see what my limbic system is doing. Yeah. I'm not completely out of the woods yet, I would say. I think once I reach like 10 p.m. and I go turn off the stove because I am making dinner, one thing I am noticing is that, you know what really gave me anxiety? I have so many thoughts intruding at the same time. But the biggest piece spiritually was
for me, part that spiritual piece was really about asking to what happened to me. I went through a lot of trauma as a child, and the answer I got was, she's dead. She's been long dead. You need to just move on. But I was like, but isn't she me? In a way, yeah. You're a ghost. You're just a ghost in this life, and that's fine. That's okay. And that made me wail. That made me cry. And I said, she needs a funeral. That little girl needs a funeral. Yeah, they said she's been dead for so long. That's why you felt homeless. That's why you've been homeless for so long. She's been dead. But you didn't kill her. Your parents killed her. And so basically the choice is up to me. What will I do? I'm very happy I'm here. I'm very appreciative of everything that's happened. And sad, it's not mutually exclusive. And I did ask, who am I? What am I? They're just like, you don't know. I'm a ghost for sure. That's both sad, but it's okay. And as for Peter, he's everywhere. That's really reassuring. Explains why I always feel his presence. And I talk to him every day, morning and night. I need to say goodbyes to the 7-year-old girl who died, who was killed. And remains as a husk, but that's what I am. I am a husk. But I can feel that husk is kind of what I got from it. And what I got from it was filled it with happy memories. So actually overwhelmingly intrusive thought. What made me chuckle in the middle of wailing was, eat good food. Food is delicious. Enjoy food. Food is really flavorful. You love food. So fill your life with food and go seek delicious food. Go travel. Seek good experiences was what I got. I did need to come closer to death in order for me to appreciate life and be shown answers I knew deep within myself. But I know I'll figure it out. I've always figured it out. Oh my god, my leg is asleep. I have a complete jelly foot. I gotta stop crying. I'm gonna go drink more water and walk around, because walking does help. It helps it flush out. I'm sure I'm gonna cry more. And my battery's probably running. I'm running out of memory too. Now, I wanted to talk about some of the short-term and long-term benefits that I've noticed, and I'll be reading off of my notes because I have to just make sure that I organize my thoughts. The day after the trip, I had to take the day off because I was feeling so out of it, feeling a little bit nauseous, and also just having cried so much, I was extremely exhausted and I was very swollen, so I called in sick. Now, for the sake of the argument, let's say it's about roughly 1 week, but it was really like 9-ish days where I felt the short-term benefits were really noticeable. In terms of short-term benefits, there were 4 that I could think of that really stood out to me. And the first being my ability to think and problem solve faster. So increased brain computational and processing power, and also better memory. I've noticed that I was thinking and speaking so much more fluidly, and I was able to piece together thoughts, string together words such an efficient way that I was really amazed. The second benefit that I noticed was the increase in energy. So having, waking up feeling with the sense of like purpose in the morning and like wanting to get things done, and with positive outlook, and just feeling overly optimistic about the future, which is something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Definitely not since about 2019. Another thing I wanted to really mention about the short-term benefits was the ability to not only, process thoughts faster or solve problems more easily. I did feel like, all my neurons were firing and talking to each other. I wasn't experiencing mental fatigue at all. So I was able to take on a lot of cognitive load, but at the same time, working like 10 and a half hours, 11 hours straight with only 2 small breaks, like less than 15 minutes, and feeling like I could go on for another like 3-4 hours for like a 16-hour workday. I just had all this energy and I did not feel mental fatigue at all for like the first 8 to 9 days. And of course, with whatever was going on with my brain, I had better sleep-wake cycle, circadian rhythm, where I never had trouble falling asleep, but when I woke up before the trip, I always woke up depressed and wanting to never wake up again. And I had been wanting for like the past 2.5 years pass away in my sleep. That's essentially ideation, one form of it. And so after the trip, that's something that completely went away. Of course, talking about depressive symptoms, completely gone. It really was a quick switch of my brain, which was kind of miraculous. Now, in terms of the long-term benefits that I noticed, that's something that I still feel to this day. By the way, by long-term, I don't mean like it's permanent, but I still feel like 5 weeks out after my trip is the fact that more or less my depression is gone. I did have a very stressful 2.5 weeks of work. It's finally ending. I hope that next week is far less stressful. Before, when work would be overwhelming, I would feel even further depressed and wish even more that I would pass away in my sleep and never be alive again. That is a feeling that I don't have anymore. If anything, when I feel stressed at work, I really seek ways to escape and trying to figure out how I can leave this place and essentially troubleshooting and trying to problem solve my situation so that I can put myself in a happier place. That's been really the key difference, is that before, turning inwardly and feeling like I'm just sinking into my own negative feelings versus being like, hey, I don't have to put up with this. There are ways out of it. There are tons of opportunities available to me. I just need to go find them or create them. Now, a couple lessons that I would do differently if I could go back in time and maybe in the future implement different little tactics is, number one, I would have probably done a smaller dose. I took 500 milligrams, as I mentioned, and I would give myself like a margin of error of about 100 milligrams, give or take. It was too much for me for the very first time. If I could go back, I would have probably done half of that, maybe even less than half, about somewhere between 100 milligrams and 250 milligrams. So in the future, if I want to try microdosing again, I think I would invest in one of those laboratory scales that can measure down to the like micrograms and the nanograms so that I can be more precise in my measurements. I think I would probably ballpark it between 50 milligrams and 100 milligrams, where hopefully I feel this hallucinogenic effects without the adverse physical side effects. And of course, if I were to shoot for the moon, probably set money aside and maybe invest in a psilocybin retreat somewhere in Europe and spend vacation time / healing time doing this retreat. That's something I have in the back burner. I'm considering maybe doing in the next couple of years. Now, the final thing that I wanted to talk about really briefly to end this video is there is right now a big news headline article going around about mushroom edible recalls. I want to really talk quickly about that and make sure that people are not conflating psilocybin mushrooms with the variety of mushrooms that these manufacturers and suppliers are making these edible treats with. The mushroom implicated for the recall is the Amanita variety. Now, the Amanita is like what we recall from like our fairy tales and childhood stories of what a typical mushroom looks like. That beautiful red cap with the white spots, that little fat little mushroom, or from Super Mario, as you know, the mushroom that gives you bigger, makes Mario bigger. That variety of mushroom is actually known for its toxicity, is not the same as the psilocybin mushrooms. Psilocybin mushrooms are distinct for having psilocybin compound. As far as I know, based on the research I've done, psilocybin mushrooms are not habit forming and there is no known toxicity level, meaning that they don't know if there's a maximum dose you take of psilocybin to have very grave side effects. Whereas with the Amanita mushrooms, that's not the case. The death cap, which is known for like instantly killing a human being, is the Amanita variety. All right, so if you made it all the way to this point in the video, I want to just say you're amazing and I thank you so much. Definitely with this mushroom trip, it's helped me kind of revitalize and inject vitality into my being, that I feel more motivated than ever in recent memory to actually put more effort and energy into doing this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, please take good care of yourself. See you later. Bye.